Hello and welcome to Was It Worth Buying? And I totally blame this movie for my absolute munchie effect last night. Munchie effect? What kind of word is that? Munchie effect. So, normally it's a box set and normally it's a vinyl. This is a standalone film and the movie is Chef on Blu-ray. Was it worth buying Chef on Blu-ray? Because I've just dropped a Jason Voorhees mask off in the background. Can you guess what the next Was It Worth Buying is? So basically, there's a thing here. What happens when, right, I'm going to get it on Blu-ray and DVD? Because how DVD has lasted, now that there's another generation of formats called 4K, it's kind of like DVD held on pretty well. I mean, VHS held on for a long time. I mean, some people still buy VHS. But this is one where people would go, let's get it on DVD. And it's a shame because one thing about Chef is it's fucking brilliantly made and filmed and looks mint on Blu-ray. So it's worth buying it on that note. But it's one of those things, I've said for a while, it's like, the phase of DVD and DVD players are really hard to get a hold of. When my last DVD player broke, it was a nightmare. I had to pre-order one and go, not pre-order, but order for collection days. And it was like down at Argos, like not just go and get one there and then. So anyway, we've got Chef. Now Chef, what I love about Chef is they've made a great effort. That's Hyra, dropping a bone down the stairs to laminate flooring. Chef is one of the very few rare red Blu-rays. It is. There's not many out there. I can't think of one off the top of my head. There's a few black Blu-rays. Personally recommend anyone who gets a black Blu-ray, so basically buy Bone Tomahawk if you must, and then get your copy of The Lost Boys and whack it in the black box, because Lost Boys looks shit hot. It just looks mint in a black case, but Warner Brothers don't really care much about discs, never mind going what colour cases you want. So yeah, it's a very early release of Chef as well because it's got the digital download code. In what is this movie? Now, Jon Favreau, yes, I said his name right, is an amazing director and has always been an established writer all the way back to Maid and Swingers, all the way back to his Ring of Terror and Friends. John Leguizamo, though, probably one of the greatest underrated actors ever. He's like a fucking comedian. He's also a pest. See, the pest is someone I should get pleased. Robert Downey Jr., Dustin Hoffman and Scarlett Johansson, as well as Bobby and Vanda Lee, like amazing kid and Sophia. Right, so basically the film's bitching. If you haven't seen it, it's just written so well and filmed so well and made by so much passion behind it. You can look at Favreau and go, this guy kickstarted Marvel for Iron Man. He's also done some other stuff, like he tried to re-kickstart Zamunda, and that's where Eddie Murphy's from. Zafura. The failed Jumanjian's face. I'm gonna go, Zamunda's definitely fucking coming to America. Anyway. He's like chipped and toed around, and if you directed quite a few, like Cowboys and Aliens, and you think, I rewatched that recently, was that worth buying? No. Simple answer to that. But again, so much passion. I know this has been spun off into a TV show as well, where he's cooked for his friends, so he's got a lot of passion about cooking. And no disrespect to Bam Margera, because the guy is an amazing talent, but how big Bam is at the moment, he's starting to look, you look at it and you go, he looks like Bam. He's got his little goatee going, fully tattooed, you know what I mean? So Robert Downey Jr. is awesome. That's kind of shit to put across the top of the box, because obviously that's like selling the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is in it. He's in it for probably less than me talking right now. I know he's quite funny, and it's that whole Iron Man thing. Nah, but don't be putting that across the top. Jon Favreau's in it. So the red box all around, digital code there, long done and dusted. As I say, Gary Clark Jr. is also in this, singing highlights from Black and Blue album. What an amazing album. And it's great that how he's involved. If you haven't seen the movie, I have done a review random for it, but just give you a quick thing. He's a master chef, Chef Casper. Used to be the hot shit 10 years ago, but is struggling against his boss, Dustin Hoffman, who doesn't want change, he just wants a menu. And it shows you the inner working life of chef, like being a chef, how hectic it can get. Basically, a food critic comes along, Oliver Platt from Flatliners, and basically decimates his review. He literally lays it down, and it's upsetting, and it affects him, and it is an outburst, and it becomes a Twitter sensation. Of course, he doesn't really know what Twitter is. thinks he's just sending a private message, becomes a massive sensation on Twitter. But he's also having problems with his son and his ex-wife, although his ex-wife definitely shows telltale signs of still being in love with him. He's struggling to have his kid in his life while he's being a chef. Unfortunately, he loses his job after a clash with Dustin Hoffman after the second time they get reviewed, and Dustin Hoffman still wants to sell the same menu, and Chef Casper walks out. Pretty much his wife, his ex-wife, basically much comes along to go, right, this is what's going to happen, you need to come with me to Miami. They're in LA at the time, and you need to come see my ex-husband, who was Robbie Downey Jr., and he gives him, or loans him, or something like that, a food van. So basically John Lee was on, was just like, well, I want to join that, and the kid, trying to bond with the kid, they tried to drive from Miami all the way down through Texas, New Orleans especially, and back into LA. And because of the kid and because of that, in the bonding, they become a Twitter sensation, and people start following this food van across America, and it's just so well made. It's a great montage in certain places. Again, when Clive Clark Jr. comes along, the passage of times, and just like the film's just about life and passion, you know what I mean, and like just rebuilding relationships and stuff like that. So Chef is totally worth buying on Blu-ray. You get the audio commentary as well, and some deleted scenes. I'm not saying it's packed full, but like it looks great. As I say, it's been filmed quite high definition. I'll talk about one that maybe shouldn't be worth buying in the outtakes. But if you've never seen Chef, yes, it is on Netflix. But should it be worth buying on Blu-ray and in your collection for years later, and you watch that film? Because I've seen that film probably 4 or 5 times now, and it's just fucking awesome. See the outtakes.
Now who's smiling? Now who's smiling? Now who's smiling? Now who's smiling?
Okay, so since I mentioned it, I was going to make a reference to it. Lost Boys is in the background, and the other night I watched Lost Boys: The Tribe. So Lost Boys: The Tribe, the only way it's available to buy within the UK on Blu-ray is in the box set. So when it originally came out on DVD, they tagged it on with the first one. You know, it's a very rare, if you got a box set, it's a very rare edition where you'll see Lost Boys 2 on the box. I shouldn't really be holding this up in my hand, but it's just an outtake. So yeah, and that was the only way it was available. Years later, the third one came out on Blu-ray and DVD, and then they brought the box set out, and the box set's the only way it's been released. It's an 18 out of the 2. The free Stephen. I watched it the other night on a very sharp, high definition television. I was in at the time. I do know the film. Straight away, it does scream straight to DVD. Just font, passage of time. For something so iconic as the original's intro, especially they're going across the blue, dark, like, you know what I mean, there's just so much style to the first fucking movie. You know you're in trouble straight away, but as a massive fan of the Lost Boys franchise, it's a remake, but not a remake. As a fan of Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, I like it because of how they respected that. Could have went the total different way. Maybe now should have left it to do a reboot in some form of TV show. Yes, they should have. But what we're talking about is the box set. Now, as much as the third film's is more, let's do a Blade movie. The second movie on Blu-ray, it looked terrible in places, like really fucking grainy. On a film that's probably been shot in digital as well. There's no like really excuse for that much, like especially in the Blu-ray, it was so grainy, and then the CGI, especially when the girl turns to fucking dust, I was like, mortified. Do like the music, I have the soundtrack. Pop Goes a Weasel, Feldman has his Feldman comments, and then it's just baffling at the end how Jameson Newland is credited in the movie, but obviously isn't in the fucking movie until the outtakes. Obviously there's 2 different versions of Haim's appearance, and it's always mental as well to think that the first time Corey Haim and Corey Feldman ever united on film was the Lost Boys, and the last time you would ever see them in a film together would be the Lost Boys: The Tribe at the very end. So came full circle. It's really weird, especially how many films they made in the middle. So yeah, as a fan of the Lost Boys, it's kind of like, it's worth buying for the price at £10 for 3 films and a nice slim box set, and you've got all 3 movies. All of them are packed with all the extra features. Like the first Lost Boys itself is packed full of Blu-ray content. And it's one of them Blu-rays that just starts. You have to press pop-up menu screen and you just get this bombardment of font, and it's like, right, okay, calm down, I want to watch that. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I was really disappointed with how bad the second one looked for a newer film on Blu-ray. So yeah, thanks for watching.